Hello and welcome to the Father and Son Formula One podcast. I'm the father, Graham Miller. So I'm just wondering why I'm always the one who does the hello and not Toby, who's my son. Anyway, here's Toby.
Hello, I don't know why, but you just started doing it the first time, so...
It became a habit.
Oh well.
Anyway, today I'm going to take a deep breath. We are talking about the Formula One Qatar Airways Azerbaijan Grand Prix 2024.
That's pretty... okay as they go. Again, I can scroll up to Emilia Romagna.
That's actually 3 lines.
Takes up a whole extra line.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Which, as I'm sure you know, is held in Baku.
Yeah, pretty good track, Baku. I quite like it.
I mean, I actually really like it.
I call it Monzaco.
Yeah.
Because it's got hilariously long straights, low drag, top speed, and then the castle section, which is really tight. It's almost like the hairpin at Monaco.
And really, at the end of the straights, you've got a one-off escape road in tarmac.
It's bigger than some racetracks, that runoff.
And then there's nothing else. It's just literally barriers and concrete everywhere.
I think turns 2 and 3 have a significant runoff. You often see cars going down there and they have to do the power slide.
Yeah, but there's no gravel anywhere.
No, it's tarmac or wall.
Yeah. It's very I mean, we said all weekend that there were incidents that happened all weekend where any other racetrack, it would have been bounced across the gravel. Somebody with like the reflexes and experience of Hamilton would have gathered it up, maybe smudged the barrier and just got back on, whereas they're just a wipeout and a red flag.
Yeah, very minor lockups, misjudging corners, and it's just into the wall.
Also, you have to say, Baku is a gorgeous looking city. When you see the drone shots and the big modern buildings and the old castles and on the Caspian Sea, it is.
They call it the City of Wind. They say that the land of fire and the City of Wind, that's what every single time there's a new session, they must have been given, like Sky must have been given a guideline from the Azerbaijani government to say, this is...
Was that somewhere in Game of Thrones?
What, the land of fire and the City of Wind?
Yeah.
Probably.
That's got a bit of a kind of fantasy. Anyway, we're rambling as
it
always.
Is, yeah, we're so focused. Practice 1.
Yeah, and I mean, really all the practice sessions were mostly about the kind of crashes, weren't they?
Well, Leclerc locked up into a wall. Colapinto also locked up into a wall. Or did he just lose the rear end, actually, and smack the back?
They smacked both front and back, because with Leclerc it was literally a front-end rebuild.
Yeah, they could have done it in a race, probably.
Well, not quite.
I know the front wheel was off, but...
But then with Colapinto, he kind of slid in and gave the back a knock as well. I think they just had to inspect...
Had to inspect the gearbox.
Not...
But was it fairly early in the session, Colapinto's?
Yeah, I think he was still late to go out for FP2, though, because I think they were just running some final checks.
He did still get out again.
I mean,
also, Ocon broke down.
Yeah.
But I think both Alpines broke down several times the whole weekend. They're really unreliable.
Yeah, they had real big engine problems, but kind of like Red Bull, the corporate culture was gone. Because Briatore came in and Briatore was like, why don't we become a customer team?
Yeah.
Why don't we fire everybody at the engine factory?
They've had about 11 team principals in the last 2 years. I don't know what. Somebody high up at Renault needs to actually restructure it from the top down, I think.
But it's really unfair on the guys who work in the engine factory in France.
Well, yeah, just to shut it down and lay them all off.
Well, I haven't officially heard anything. That's even worse, because they're just sitting there thinking...
Well, we'll make the engine... are they designing a 2026 engine, even?
I'm not sure.
Because if they don't want to until they've got, confirmation that they'll have jobs, then they might not work on it, and they might be really rubbish when they get there, if they do make it.
Or underdeveloped, yeah.
So it's a really...
Like you say, somebody needs to get a hold of the team and give it certainty. I mean, Renault won...
Give it direction. Yeah, they won with Alonso World Championships. They used to be...
Benetton. Didn't Schumi win one of his?
2 of his with Benetton, Schumacher did.
Yeah, so they are a top flight team. Well, they were.
Well, they've got the lineage of it anyway.
I mean, I think in all 3 free practices there wasn't much to write home about.
Apart from all the
from various crashes and the fact that in the pre-practices it looked like Red Bull were right on it.
Yeah, I mean, we've got Perez literally 6,000ths off of Leclerc in practice 1. Verstappen fastest in practice 1. Perez 6,000ths off in practice 2. Practice 3, dropping back a bit, 3/10, 5/10. This maybe is a bit more representative because you've got the McLarens up front.
Yeah, I think they made a setup change, Red Bull did, on Friday night going into Saturday, and it didn't work.
I have heard that Red Bull are now tracing most of their problems back to a floor change they made in 2023.
Barcelona 23.
I think so. And I think maybe if you even look at the results... Hang on, let me get my results up actually. I've got it all recorded because I'm a nerd.
Yeah, but what I heard they said was that they made this change in Barcelona 2023, which would have been quite early.
Yeah.
And because Max kept winning races, and I mean 2023 was the most dominant.
Yeah, but I mean look
season.
At Perez's record. Firsts and seconds, bad race in Monaco, and then fourths and sixths. He doesn't win another race for the rest of the season, and he struggles to get on the podium.
He hasn't won another race since then.
And I think they were saying that Perez told them that the car was rubbish after Spain, and they didn't listen to him because Max kept winning.
Yeah.
And now, I think they've changed something that's kind of messed with it again, or Max has kind of... The other teams have caught up to them.
I think there's been two effects. I think the other teams have caught up.
Yeah.
Is this 2024 on the screen?
Yes.
The other teams have caught up and bought upgrades that have really drastically changed things. But also, the problems with the Red Bull have got so bad that even Max talent can't hide them.
Yeah.
I think that was the problem.
I mean, the first 10 races of the season, Max only failed to win 3, which is better than it was last year, but it's still fairly dominant if you look.
Oh yeah,
that's where he built his lead basically, and like we had. So, again, the problem is that we had 3 different winners, and actually, like 4 or 5 different winners other than Max until we got to Belgium, really.
And even then, we've got like, is it 3 different double winners now? 4 different double winners on the grid.
It's hard to see. Max, Norris, Piastri, and Leclerc. Yeah. And
Hamilton's won 2 races.
Yeah. So that's a lot.
That's like 8 races where if they'd been a dominant,
if Norris had picked up even 2 or 3 of those extra wins, he'd be a lot closer.
Anyway, we're jumping a bit ahead.
Yes.
Qualifying Q1.
Q1, yeah.
And I mean, I think it was a bit unfair on Norris because Norris qualified in 15th, 16th.
Looking like if they're gonna, yeah.
He qualified 16th.
6 or qualified because Gasly got DQ.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about where he qualified, not where he lined up on the grid. But yeah, Norris failed to progress from Q1.
Yeah,
because Gasly had a power unit.
Ocon had a puncture.
Ocon had a puncture. See, I'm right on top of this.
Well, Alpine go slow. That's
Alpine slow car.
Yeah.
And he saw a fraction of a second of a yellow flag as he approached, so he lifted off. And then the real problem with this is you read articles, and this happened, and then everybody sitting around in their armchairs in the press room has got 10, 15, 20 minutes to analyse it and rewind the tape and see what they could see.
Yeah.
And say, well, he shouldn't have done this. But
because they're saying he should have powered on and taken a 3 or 5 place drop and potentially qualified on pole and started in the top 10.
But, you know, he was probably, I don't know what the overall speed is for the lap, but he was almost certainly driving faster than you can legally do on a UK motorway.
Oh, easily.
Between 2 brick walls.
Yeah.
With all the pressure of, will I qualify? And also, there's 2 brick walls. For all he knows, you'll come around that corner and there'll be a car across the track.
Yeah.
Or a person.
Yeah.
Or a bit of carbon fibre. Or...
I mean, if Ocon had crashed and had gone right across the track, Norris would have lifted and then gone round, and it wouldn't have been a should he, shouldn't he. It would have been, oh, his lap got wrecked. That's a shame, but, you know, that's how it is.
And if he'd kept his foot in...
He could have had an enormous crash, and then he would have been sanctioned to hell and back.
It probably would have been a race ban, to be honest.
For, like, disobeying yellow flags, as much as they say they don't look at the
consequences.
If he actually hit, especially if Ocon was still in it and got injured.
Yeah, well,
I know we're doing a lot of like what ifs, but
no, because the thing is, it was that quick, wasn't it? It was just literally as it happened.
And that's the point of a yellow flag, is to lift off.
And I mean, I think it's one of those things, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's why you put in good banker laps. But also the other thing is, Baku is a street circuit. All throughout every session up to the race, it was rubbering in enormously.
Yeah, like mad. We had it gained 1.5 seconds from Q1 to Q3, and that was about 3 seconds faster than practices were.
Yeah, and you have to say, it's a long track. It's a 1 minute 40.
Yeah.
But even so, even a banker lap that Norris put in.
Well, you go out with the green light, get a banker lap in.
Then that kind of lap is useless. It's good for 16th.
Yeah. But I think he did the right thing ultimately, and I think that's why he wasn't too downbeat about it.
Yeah.
He was a bit, I think, annoyed, but he wasn't sitting around waiting for the stewards to call him in and give him a penalty. He was like, well, I got unlucky, but I did the right thing, so It is how it is.
What happened in the rest of qualifying? That was all fairly ordinary. I mean, there were 3 spots in the top 10 for a change.
Well, very ordinary until Q3, of course.
Oh, yeah.
And a certain young Mr. Albon left the pits with a fan still attached to his car. I've seen a video now of inside the pit lane. He's leaving as someone's trying to get the fan off.
Oh.
And one of the mechanics almost gets hit by the rear tyre, which did happen to one of Raikkonen's mechanics a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and people have broken arms and legs being pit.
Yeah, he broke his leg, the Ferrari mechanic. So it basically was just a miscommunication or a bit of a mess.
Yeah, but Albon, I actually heard the pit radio now as well from inside his car.
Yeah.
I can't remember where the rules stand, but I can guess this tells us, because he pulled over at the side of the pit lane, almost certainly past the line, so he wasn't in the pit lane. And then his race engineer was basically screaming at him, going, "Don't let the marshals touch the car."
Yeah.
So he got no outside assistance. He got the fan off.
Threw
it out of the car, and then it became debris on the track.
Same as if a front wing had fallen off.
Yeah, at which point the marshals deemed it was safe and the marshals recovered it. Also, we got cool special effects because there was dry ice all over the back of the car.
I mean, I kind of wish they'd had a slow-mo camera on it to watch him pulling away with dry ice falling.
Oh, I have seen those shots actually.
Yeah, it would have been like a film.
It's going to be the trailer for Drive to Survive 24, let's be honest.
I mean, yeah, the F1 media team are rubbing their hands together like that. It's we're going to use this everywhere.
But because of that, he missed the flag. Again, as we said, track rubbering in. He missed the flag for his final blistering lap.
Yeah.
And that means, after out-qualifying Logan Sargent for
36?
I was going to say 35.
Yeah.
A lot of races.
Many.
In Colapinto's second race, admittedly, through extraordinary circumstances, he out-qualified Alex Albon.
Yeah, but I think the key is he had to actually be there in Q3 with Albon, and he still had to do the lap. If you look, Albon did a 1:42.8 on all 3 sessions.
Yeah.
But Colapinto went from a 1:43.1 down to a 1:42.5. His kind of ceiling was higher than Albon's was. Maybe Albon would have done a 1:42.3. He said he could probably have got Fernando, but not anyone else.
Yeah.
But
I've actually seen an article saying, where on earth can Colapinto go now?
Well, there's always Audi Sauber.
I think Audi is the only seat, realistically.
Yeah.
RB for 2025.
Well, there's rumours now about that, but...
Yeah, RB for 2025 are just looking at either Lawson or Ricciardo.
Yeah.
I don't think they'd go outside the system to somebody who's...
The battle of the Australasians.
Who's basically with a Mercedes-powered team.
And also, Williams have said they're not interested in training up drivers for other teams, really.
No, but they've already got Albon and Sainz, so...
Which is a damn good lineup.
They'll probably keep Colapinto as a very strong reserve and sim driver.
Yeah, but he might get poached by Audi as well.
Yeah.
Who's already at Audi? Hulkenberg, isn't it?
Is Hulkenberg staying? Yeah, I think you're right. I think he is, and Bottas is out of a job.
He's replacing one of Bottas and Zhou at what is currently Kick Sauber. It will be Kick Sauber next year as well, I think.
Yeah, in 2026 it will become Audi with the new regs.
So it will be Hulkenberg. Thing is, Hulkenberg's a veteran, so having someone young and exciting like Colapinto to partner him is quite a tried and tested.
Yeah, that's the way they go. Oh, we forgot something else.
What?
It's an Oliver Bearman race again.
Yes, because Magnussen got banned for being a lunatic.
Yes, which we covered. Where on earth did Bearman qualify? I cannot.
11th.
He qualified 11th. Then all sorts of crazy stuff happened.
Ahead of Hülkenberg.
Oh yeah, properly out-qualified Hulkenberg.
2/10. It was really the day of the Super Sub.
Yeah.
The whole weekend of the Super Sub, actually.
So that was qualifying. Then now let's.
Well. There's also this as well. The actual exciting.
Oh, the actual
bit.
Business end.
Leclerc got pole for the 4th race in a row at Baku. Hasn't won any of them.
Yeah, it's a bit of a novice in that respect.
Yeah, they're similar. I mean, Leclerc is a really, really good qualifier. He's ridiculously fast over one lap. I mean, 3/10 on Piastri. I just don't know if the McLaren's a better race car or if the Ferrari strategy is.
Yeah.
Although in Italy, the Ferrari strategy was a masterstroke.
Yeah.
So, who knows?
And then Sainz and Perez on the second row.
Well, Perez out-qualified Verstappen. Both Verstappen and Albon had their streaks ended.
Yeah.
Against their teammates. He out-qualified Verstappen for the first time since early 2023, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Verstappen really did not like the car, did not like the track, qualified in 6th.
He just didn't like the whole weekend. He was just unhappy.
Russell was separating the two Red Bulls.
Hamilton was in 7th at the time.
Which is a really poor showing from him, considering only 7 at the top 4
Yeah,
team
it was worst of the best, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And then, as we said, we had Alonso, Colapinto and Albon in the top 10.
Yeah.
And then all sorts of weird stuff happened. Let's get this in order. From the top.
Go to the starting grid.
Hamilton swapped out just an engine, or was it everything?
Everything. Cars were... So Hamilton and Ocon, because Ocon broke down, had a puncture or something, many things bad happened. Required to start from the pit lane after cars were modified whilst under parc ferme. That's what I said at the time.
Oh, yeah.
That's why it's a pit lane start specifically. And I think because they knew that was happening, Mercedes, they just took it and put everything new on Hamilton's car to keep him
Well, it's
afloat.
basically free. I don't know. Why did they have to modify stuff? Was there a problem?
I don't know.
Anyway, yeah, Hamilton and Ocon were in the pit lane.
Gasly got disqualified because
Fuel flow.
Yeah, technical non-conformity. He raced at the steward's discretion because he didn't technically qualify, so he didn't technically achieve the 107% rule. But they almost always look at FP2 times and let them go.
Also, he did compete in qualifying, didn't he?
Yeah, but legally he didn't qualify because his car was illegal.
So his 107% time wouldn't be valid. Yeah.
But they almost always let them race.
Yeah.
And then Zhou required to start from the quotes back of the grid, which ended up being P17, like the front of the second from last row, because again he changed his power units.
Yeah, and we said this, didn't we? Like about 3 or 4 podcasts ago.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting into the sticky end. We know Red Bull are still right up against it in terms of components.
Yeah.
Mercedes will probably have a real advantage in these last few races because they've got a lot of headroom now.
Yeah, they've got
a lot of unused engines, and
they've used this is their 5th of each, which is why the penalties. But now they can swap them around and stretch them to the end of the season.
So the actual starting grid looked quite different. Still Piastri.
Albon down, and then Bearman. Well, no, Alonso, Colapinto, and Albon and Bearman gained up into the points. So Bearman started in 10th.
The starting grid.
Yeah, Zhou qualified 19th and started 17th after taking penalties, which is
a bit of a win.
Quite hilarious. Norris started 15th in the end.
Yeah.
And then there was a race.
Yep. It was a really exciting race. Like I
said,
good. Because it's racing down a corridor, basically, it's always a bit nerve-wracking.
Yeah. I was kind of... I think everybody was holding their breath a bit for safety cars and red flags and stuff.
Yeah.
It was pretty clean.
I've seen a slow motion. Basically, everybody got away cleanly.
Yeah. Leclerc retaining the lead, I think. Because the McLaren
and after I think it was just after the pit stops.
Mm-hmm.
Piastri on the aforementioned ridiculously long straights with DRS and slipstream. And I've seen one with those kind of graphics on the screen. He was about 50 metres back.
Yeah.
And he just nails it, and the gap closes and he breaks out of the slipstream at just the right moment. Late breaks into the corner, goes up the inside. Actually, that corner was one where several people have either missed it and gone straight ahead, which means he would have collected Leclerc.
Yeah.
Or just run wide on it and clonked the wall and ripped their right wheel off.
But he didn't.
He just grabbed it and held it round.
And took the lead and never let go of it again.
No, pretty much he got the lead. Was it a one-stop race? It was, wasn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. Most people did stop number one. Those three, Ricciardo, Ocon and Gasly, did their one stop on the last lap of the race. Which I don't really understand why, because it seems like it kind of messed them up a bit.
What lap did they do it on? I thought it said 49.
Yeah, it's a 51 lap race, so close enough.
Yeah.
And then Verstappen at the end took, what's it called? Softs to try and get the fastest lap, which he then couldn't do.
Yeah, so really in the closing stages of the race was where it all got properly exciting. Piastri was in the lead.
Leclerc was right behind him with Perez. Those three were kind of fighting for the lead for
they were all in DRS for a bit.
20, 30 laps, and you could see Perez backing off, recharging, cooling his tyres, and then suddenly closing up again.
Yeah, but Leclerc made a really early pit stop.
Yes.
So he really, towards the end of it, there was actually a point where you could see that his tyres went off, as they call it, the cliff. He just suddenly lost like fractions of a second.
Piastri pitted before him, 1 lap before.
Oh.
And then Perez 2 laps before him. I think running that close behind Piastri and not...
Does it say what tyres they went into or not? 'Cause I think they might have been on different tyres.
I don't think so. I think they all started on the mediums and all went to hards. I think it was quite...
Oh, yeah. But also, before we get on to the final, Norris, somehow... He was just overtaking... I mean, he wasn't, like, waiting... I think he started on hards and went long.
Yeah, he did. So he ended up in that top 5 with the pit stop offset.
Yeah. And he just somehow managed... he held up Perez a bit to stop him attacking Piastri. He pitted quite late, and he came out from the pits 15 seconds behind Max Verstappen.
Who had kind of just been bimbling around and swearing at his car in kind of 6th and 7th.
And in literally 9 laps, he destroyed a 15-second advantage.
Yeah.
It was just incredible. And he then just overtook, not with clever strategies, overtook Verstappen on pace.
Yeah.
It was just, I've not seen anything like that in modern racing for a long time.
Yeah, Norris's fastest lap was 1.4 seconds faster than the next. Unless this is doing it by... No, this is, which was Russell's. No, he did a 1:45.2 and Russell did a 1:46.6.
Yeah, so at the end of the race, you had Leclerc's tyres went off a cliff. Perez closed up to him.
Yeah.
Sainz, again, who'd had a fairly quiet race in 4th.
Yeah, waiting in the wings, really.
Kind of suddenly just went, oh, actually, there's a Red Bull in front of me, and attacked.
Got past Perez just about.
Yeah, he kind of got past him for a couple of corners, and then Perez, I think he messed up the exit to turn 2.
Yeah.
And went a bit wide. And then Perez was kind of one wheel up by a side pod, and somehow they collided.
I think both of their trajectories, they didn't turn into each other, they just happened to collect each other.
The FIA said that both steering positions were neutral.
Yeah.
So what happened was Sainz was on the outside and taking the natural line, and he, from the exit from turn 2, the FIA said he drifted about a car's width to the left.
Yeah.
But there was about a metre between the cars. But Perez drifted about half a car's width to the left. Yeah.
So he drifted less to the left than Sainz did.
And they kind of... It looked really harsh because they locked wheels. Sainz's rear left was just behind Perez's front right.
Yeah.
But I thought about this, because it was rubber to rubber, it acted as a massive brake on Sainz's rear left wheel.
Yeah.
So at first sight, it looked like Sainz just decided to drive really fast into the barrier and squash Perez's car.
Yeah.
But there was nothing he could do.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a bit surprised. The FIA report said that Perez was in a far better position to avoid the accident because he was behind and could properly see the position of Sainz's car.
Yes.
But there again, Sainz has also said he was aware that Perez was there, so...
I think it's a pretty cut and dry racing incident. It was just a mistake.
Yeah.
I don't think there was really anything either of them could have done.
And I think the other thing is Leclerc was in front of them.
Yeah.
So I think both of them were kind of almost subconsciously jockeying to get in the slipstream.
Yeah.
But of course you can't have two cars in the slipstream from one car.
No.
But that really put everything on its head. That was in the penultimate lap.
Yeah. Verstappen pitted that lap.
Yeah.
To get, because he had a free stop to Alonso, to get soft tyres on for the fastest lap. But then he couldn't do the fastest lap because they, not immediately, but after about a lap, they threw a VSC.
Yeah, which, to me, it looked really dangerous.
Mm.
I mean, I've seen, like, trackside videos. You had Sainz walking around on the track with his helmet off. You had carbon fibre strewn further out. You had Perez's car behind him. Admittedly, there was I think it was the medical car was there with full,
flashing yellow lights, and there was waved up a yellow flag.
Yeah, and it had the proper light bar on top as well. And it was a virtual safety car.
But yeah, it's still a bit
so
dodgy.
Weird to see people actually walking on a live track.
Yeah.
And even with a 40% delta, I still think they're going over 100 miles an hour past him.
Probably motorway speeds, at least.
If you ever stood beside a motorway...
Yeah, I know. I'm saying motorway speeds are still terrifying.
And given the fact there was carbon fibre everywhere, so the odds on somebody picking up a puncture and losing control...
Yeah.
But...
It could have been a red flag, but then they would have had to take the result from further back.
Yeah.
So you think they were maybe just wanting to... They could have thrown a full safety car.
And we're back to Abu Dhabi 21. They hate ending the race under a safety car.
But they shouldn't care.
I think they should have thrown a full safety car.
Or a red flag, lap 50 out of 51, just end it there, full points, no drama really.
I think either that or when Oscar Piastri has crossed the start-finish line. Because if they threw a red flag as soon as it happened, Sainz and Perez would have just crossed the start-finish line, so they would get their third and fourth place.
They'd get their timing beam. That happened in Australia last year or the year before, where it was absolute carnage, and then some drivers got to keep their results.
Yeah, they kind of count it back.
Or was it It wasn't Britain.
Well, sometimes they can do it by sector times, actually, can't they? So if
it's a bit, I think they wanted to avoid that by having the race end properly, as it were.
Well, I suppose they only had a lap and a half, so
it could have been handled better, but
it was just a bit worrying to see.
Safety should be the first thing rather than the show, really.
Yeah, I think a full safety car, and then the safety car could have actually backed them up a bit and seen the way past.
And that allows marshals to start clearing up debris and stuff, because there's a big gap where all the
people like
drivers
Sainz and Perez would have just walked up to the barriers when they saw the safety car coming to have a bit of space,
Yeah. And then, but with the VSC, they can all be equally spaced, but going slowly, it's not quite as good.
So, I mean, the funniest thing I saw was that Russell, who had the classic lonely Mercedes race in 5th, where he was like 10 or 15 seconds ahead of his nearest rival, and likewise behind them, just like on his own.
Yeah.
Was suddenly got a podium.
We overtook Verstappen actually on pace.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he really was. No, he started ahead of Verstappen.
I think pit stops.
Yeah.
Is that ahead of Verstappen?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
But he had... And then all of a sudden he was on the podium, and it came down to the 1, 2, 3 Parc Fermé. And there were Ferrari mechanics all lining the walls, and McLaren mechanics.
Yeah.
But Russell was just kind of walking around holding his helmet going, well, this is nice, I've got a
one Mercedes guy who had got down there and he went and shook his hand, and that was it. And it was like, well...
I mean, fair enough, it was lap 49.
Weren't really expecting
out of 51.
That. Yeah.
They had literally 3 minutes to go, oh, wait a minute, we got a guy on the podium.
Yeah.
But, I mean, like we say all the time, it's not a gimme. It's the fact that he was still in the race. He was still on pace. He kept it out of the barriers.
Yeah, he didn't crash into any Spanish-speaking drivers.
No.
It kind of sucks for Perez a lot, I think, because it was actually his best race in ages.
I mean, literally the last 2 years, it was his best race.
I mean, he hasn't had a podium this year, Perez. Where even is he? Since, what is that? China.
When was he last have a points finish? Oh no, he did come in.
No, he's been scoring kind of, 8, 6, 7, 7, 7, 8, 8th.
Yeah, no, he's like best of the rest.
Consistently,
usually,
or worst of the best. Like in Belgium, he qualified quite well, but he slipped back down to 8th. I
But
kind of predicted that might happen this race, but to be fair, it didn't.
I mean, he was fighting for 3rd or 4th, even if he couldn't.
He was fighting. He was in the mix for the victory, which was impressive.
Yeah, I mean, Oscar Piastri won, but only by a handful of seconds.
It ended up being about 10 seconds because Leclerc's tyres fell off, and that's why he kind of fell backwards into Perez and Sainz.
But yeah, I mean, any one of those
3 or 4 of them at the top could have conceivably won.
Yeah, and definitely he was in for a podium. So yeah, right. I mean,
that would have really kind of revitalised his kind of time at Red Bull, I think.
But yeah, I think it has revitalised.
Yeah,
it,
hopefully
I think
he was still there.
Yeah, and I think the people behind the scenes, like your Christian Horners and your Helmut Marcos, will know that that was a very strong drive.
Yeah, regardless of the result, hopefully they know that.
And I mean, I suppose, yes, he could have moved over a bit more, but he wanted to keep his foot in there to get the inside at the next corner. He didn't want to concede too much.
Yeah.
Those two retiring dragged Colapinto up, and Hamilton
and Behrman
all got up in. Hamilton and Behrman got up into the points.
Colapinto and Albon ended up with 10 points between them,
which is an amazing. I think it's the second time in like forever that Williams have had a double points finish.
I swear they had it with Russell and Latifi a while ago. 2021 maybe? They're these guys. Yeah, actually 8th and 7th in Hungary they did, Russell and Latifi, 2021. But that, I mean, we can actually see back here again, Latifi 1 points finish, and I don't know who his teammate was at this point, 2022.
But yeah, they
Albon again, yeah.
They really...
And then obviously Sargent only scored once, again in 2023. And I think Albon didn't score. Oh no, Albon did score with Sargent in the USA 2023. It's the most points they've scored since 2021, I would say.
Well,
in
the
one
most
race.
Points they've scored in a long time.
Well, yeah, 3 years.
Admittedly, the collision, the Perez-Sainz collision did help.
But again, Colapinto didn't crash.
Yeah, and they were in the right place anyway. They would have both been in the points. Just gave them a few more.
Yeah.
The really big result out of all of this is that McLaren, for the first time in 14 years?
2014, so 10 years.
Are leading the constructors' standings by actually a respectable 20 points.
Yes, because obviously Red Bull lost more points than they gained with Max, and the same is true for Ferrari, whereas McLaren just gained.
Yeah.
With Norris ending up 4th from 15th, which is actually damn impressive.
And getting past his main title rival, so the whole Drivers' Championship is kind of compressed again.
Quite kind of static, because he only gained 3 points, and he's now... This one's better because he's 60 points behind. But he's also only 18 points ahead of Leclerc, who is only 13 points ahead of Piastri.
Yeah, I think we're going to see
again,
some...
look at this I made a graph.
Yeah.
That's Piastri, Leclerc and Norris.
I think we're going to see some real movement in that second, third, fourth in the drivers.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think any of them could realistically challenge Verstappen if the car doesn't get better than Red Bull.
I mean...
another consequence of all this...
Yours.
Perez now drops to 8th behind Russell because they're on equal points.
Yeah. And Russell had... mine doesn't do count back on this. With the wins. But yeah, he's 8th now, Perez.
So yeah, it really changed things up. And to be honest, with 7 races and 3 sprints still left,
it's anybody's game, really.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of debate because in the last 7 races, Piastri has been incredible.
I think I saw that if you count who has the most points in the last 14, 13, 12, 11, what was it? I think 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5 races, it's always Piastri.
Yeah. And there's a lot of debate as to, is Piastri a better driver than Norris?
Yeah.
Or, because I look back over his stats and he has been quite inconsistent in the past.
I mean, his first half of the season was not amazing. But since Austria, since he got that second place in the sprint in Austria, second, fourth, first, second, fourth, second, first.
Yeah. That's
pretty, it's obviously way better than what Verstappen's done.
Yeah, but the real question you've got to ask yourself now is it that he's still very young? Is he improving and learning? And is he still on an upward trajectory? Or is it kind of... Because on paper, he's pretty much of a muchness with Norris.
I think he scored more points than Norris generally has. It's just that Norris had a better start to the season with more podiums and that victory in Miami.
I've got a feeling he's got steely determination and he's seen that there's a chance for something here.
Who, Piastri?
I think Piastri's going to carry on doing this.
Well, we had a postponement of the papaya rules mystery, whatever that even means. Seeing how they would handle it, because they never really even got close to each other on track.
14 places apart in qualifying, so...
Which was, nice for McLaren to just kind of sit back. And they still got a good result out of it.
And actually, they reversed the rules because they told Norris to hold up Perez.
To help Piastri win. But I think at that point, championship or whatever, Norris knew that he wasn't in that fight.
No.
So he might as well help his teammate get the constructors. Yeah. So, yeah.
But, these last 7 races and 3 sprints are going to be fascinating.
What have we got? Singapore's next.
Yeah. I was actually looking at the whole thing. Let me have a look on my phone, actually.
What for? Because I could maybe find it.
I was wondering... No, it wasn't I was wondering. I was thinking about Hamilton going over to Ferrari.
Yes.
And I was thinking, well, how good can he be?
Mm-hmm.
And then I looked. You've got the top 8, which we talk about. Those 4 teams are head and shoulders above everybody else.
There's like a 90-point gap from
at the back of the top 8, you've got Hamilton... No, you've got Russell and Perez, both on 143 points.
Yes.
Then it goes back to Fernando Alonso on 58.
Mm-hmm.
And then Lance Stroll is on 24.
Yeah.
So actually, Alonso is not best of the rest. He is annihilating the rest.
Well, that's mostly because if all 8 finish, you only have 2 other drivers who can finish in the points.
Yeah.
And I think 90% of the time it's Alonso, and then these kind of scrappy little 24, 22, 12 points is kind of just everybody else picking up the pieces.
Yeah. What round was this? 15?
17? Yeah, round 17.
Yeah, so Alonso has picked up just under 3.5 points a race.
Yeah, well, what's 9th? 2. So he's
2 or 1. So he's just been opportunist. Anytime there's been a DNF or...
he ended up 6th in this race, which is good for him, actually. Best result he's had since Canada.
But yeah, so I think by that really basic kind of look at things, I think Hamilton will have a really good chance in the top running car. Yeah, but then looking further down, Hulkenberg and Tsunoda are both on 22, with Lance Stroll on 24.
That's close for the 10th place.
Even if they're looking at getting 2 points for 9th or 4 points for 8th, that will massively change that battle.
And then there's Albon and Ricciardo on 12th.
On 12 each.
Points.
Again, that could change.
Gasly on 8. Behrman somehow still in 16th on 7 points.
But then Magnussen's on 6. And you've got Ocon and Colapinto on 5 and 4. So it's really...
I do love that Behrman's outscored Magnussen now in the whole season.
Yeah, replaced him for one race, outscored him.
Well, he outscored him in Saudi, let's be honest, in a Ferrari.
Yeah, I
And poor Bottas is somehow 22nd in a 20-man championship.
Oh, I've seen a stat about the green cars, the Kick Sauber Joe. I can't remember what they're called. Steak Kicks Sauber.
Kick Sauber.
They started the season on 11.4 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And have now got it down to something like 2.7, 3.1.
Is that the average pit stop time?
Yeah.
I can't believe they were that slow at the beginning of the year.
But they've shaved 7 or 8 seconds off. That's awesome.
Well, that's because no other team was even close to 7 or 8 seconds pit stops.
11-second pit stops.
What? I'd love to know what the actual issue was that they were dealing
guns.
with, because that's just ridiculous.
Because in 2023 they had an issue where they put the wheel on and the nut would strip, or didn't Bottas have like literally a 4-day pit stop?
I thought he was at Mercedes when that happened.
No, I think it was.
I could have sworn that was during a Monaco Grand Prix while he was at Mercedes.
Oh, you might be right.
I
know they had a wheel nut problem, and
yeah,
they didn't want to risk them coming off, so I think they put an extra step in once they had.
It was 2021. He was.
Oh, you're right.
43-hour long pit stop. Yeah.
But yeah, I know Kick Sauber had a problem, and they didn't want to send cars out with a loose wheel nut that might come off.
Fair enough. So they just spent the extra 4 or 5 seconds doing it properly.
They probably had a manual check afterwards as well to make sure it was on them.
Yeah, well, it's better than having the wheels come off every other race and then
or like stripping a thread and not being able to change it ever again.
And then being investigated, yeah. So
I don't understand it. The wheel nuts are kind of cone shaped, so it's got really tiny bearing surfaces that you grip onto it. So if those strip, you basically back to old fashioned hammer and chisel and kind of chisel it off or cut it off.
Yeah.
Proper nightmare. So yeah, Sauber have made massive improvements, but
apart from the fact that they've scored no points, the only team with 0 points in the constructors.
Yeah.
I've called them steak. Maybe they should be wrong.
How
about?
Yeah, and I mean, it's, again, you got the same kind of 3 teams in the constructors: McLaren, Red Bull, and Ferrari, on all within 51 points in the high 400s. Mercedes on their own in 300. Aston Martin on their own at 82.
82 points?
Yeah. And then you've got RB and Haas within 5 points of each other, and Williams and Alpine within 3 points.
Yeah.
So there's still quite a lot to look at in the upcoming races. I don't think anything's...
But again, this gap, 227 point gap between Aston Martin and Mercedes is quite a lot.
But I kind of don't think anything's set in stone.
No.
It's not like watching 2023 and going, well, that's Red Bull.
It's been an awesome season.
Yeah.
I mean, Leclerc broke the Monaco curse.
Yeah.
Norris broke his not winning curse. Piastri forgot his first 2 wins. Hamilton won in Britain in his final year with Mercedes after not winning for 2.5 years.
Broke all sorts of records.
Oh, annihilated. He breaks records every time he gets in the car.
Oh, he's now, along with Alonso, the only driver to complete 100,000 kilometres in Formula 1.
I think he equalled or beat Raikkonen's start record as well, somehow.
That's 60,000 miles. How many times around the Earth is that?
2.5, because they said it in the broadcast.
So yeah,
yeah,
there's still an awful lot to...
I mean, it's the sort of thing where now you watch every single race because God only knows who's going to win.
Or where everything's going to finish.
And next weekend, which is actually in 2 days' time...
Singapore.
Which is, again, an awesome track.
It's also not a Red Bull track. Perez might do it, because I always say Perez likes street circuits.
Yeah.
And psychologically, Perez and Norris are going to be over the moon.
Because they've got form back.
Yeah. And I mean, okay, Perez only made up 3 points to Verstappen, but coming from... Norris, sorry.
Yeah.
Coming from basically the back of the grid.
Yeah, to qualify 15th and actually improve in the Drivers' Championship is huge.
And actually overtake Verstappen on track.
Last 3 races, actually, Norris has outscored him.
Oh, yeah.
Not by much.
He needs, as we said before, he needs one race where he does something emphatic like wins, and Verstappen's down in the cheap seats of like 6th, 7th, 8th. Again,
if he gains 20, 25 points, he'll be 40, 35 points away from the victory.
10 or 15 would do it.
it would suddenly start looking a lot more tangible. Problem is, he needs to do it several times over.
And he's got Piastri as a teammate, who is, as we say, really on form.
Yeah, who's not that far away from him.
Oh yeah, I've heard rumours.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how true this is, but they might bring Lawson out to replace Ricciardo, or kind of do a bit of a head-to-head, like give Lawson a few races and then see if he really is better than Ricciardo.
Yeah.
Apparently Helmut Marko has been muttering something about September, and Singapore is the last race in September, although...
Could be after. I've seen a rumour that it's after Singapore they'll replace him with Lawson.
Again, that could be like, oh yeah, we'll get September out of the way and then we'll replace him. So.
We'll make a decision even. Which is, I think it's quite harsh on Ricciardo, because he's not done too badly. He's 10 points behind Tsunoda. But he's in an RB. I mean, it's a rubbish car.
Well, like we've always said, there aren't many points available.
Yeah. I mean, look, they've only ever come 7th, 8th, 9th or 10th. Except when Ricciardo came 4th in a sprint somehow.
Yeah. So that's something to watch out for. Although we're already recording this on Wednesday evening.
Yeah.
They're kind of starting to move trucks into Singapore, like tonight and over tomorrow morning.
I'm pretty sure there are some drivers already in Singapore. They've got to do media tomorrow, which might already be happening because it's, a long way away.
So yeah, it's a bit... I don't put much weight behind that.
Yeah, it would be way too... So I think maybe, again, there's a month break between Singapore and US.
That'd be much better time to get him in the car, do some testing.
Yeah, him in the photo shoot lab.
Photo shoot?
Yeah.
I actually checked this. It sounded like the most stupid bit of clickbait, but I actually got the 2 photos up. They haven't done a Colapinto photo shoot yet.
Yeah.
Because if you look... I apologise if this has gone now, but the photo of Logan Sargent, the official F1 press photo, has exactly the same race suit as the press photo for Colapinto. Like every single crease and fold and the way his neck strap is done up and everything is 100. So what they've done is they've got Colapinto's face and they've photoshopped it onto Logan Sargent's body, which is a bit...
I mean, that's on the Instagram. It's the same, and you can kind of tell because they misspelled Colapinto on the Photoshop of his...
on the Photoshop it's Colapinto, not Colapinto. Also, what's that around his head?
That's just like a kind of graphical thing, like a halo. It's like supposed to be a cutout, but you can kind of tell it's like a mugshot that they've then put on.
Which is just, I think
they might have done the same to Behrman actually, because I'm not sure that's him.
The only photos I've seen of Behrman have been in a red suit. So.
Yeah, and on the grid they still had Behrman in the Ferrari suit, because I think they must have done the photo shoot when he subbed in for Sainz, but not.
Yeah.
Or maybe because he's officially a Ferrari reserve, he might have had those ready, the photo shoot.
Yeah, but he's also an official Haas reserve. He's a Ferrari Academy driver.
He's a Ferrari Academy driver, and they're going to have the resources. I think they loan him to Haas.
Yeah. But he's got the Haas drive next year, so you think they would have got him in a jumpsuit and...
Maybe.
Anyway.
Maybe they did, I don't know.
I personally think it's quite disrespectful to Colapinto.
Yeah.
I mean, it does... I know it saves time and it's less media work, but... Also the fact, didn't you say on his garage they misspelled his name?
In the first race that he did, which was Italy? They're all blurring together now.
Yeah, Monza.
Before the race began, before free practice, they had Colapinto again.
Which, I mean, yes, he's going to be over the moon that he's got a drive in F1, but...
Yeah, I don't think he really cares about the spelling of his name on the garage or the
kind of
F1 stuff. I mean, it kind of is what it is. He was more happy to have been racing Hamilton than anything else.
Yeah, Behrman as well. They're both grown up with...
They're both... Well, Hamilton shouted both of them out in his Instagram. He said basically, well done to both of you, because it's great to see young talent coming through. And they both left replies basically saying, thanks, Lewis, you're our hero, basically.
Yeah, because they were both born in 2003?
Younger than
early noughties. Let's say they're born early noughties. So they would have been... just starting school when Hamilton won a championship.
They're younger than me, it's not fair.
I know that Ollie Behrman actually had a massive on-track battle for lap after lap with Lewis Hamilton.
I know, which he must have been like...
It's the dream.
On one hand, got to get past him / keep him behind. On the other hand, oh my god, it's Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah.
Behrman's 19.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. That shouldn't be allowed.
But yeah, he also said quite interestingly, he was lovely to race against because I just knew I'd get enough space and I wouldn't get squeezed out, but I could race him really hard. And then he actually came over and I think shook hands with both of them because he knew it was like them really early on in their careers. And
he's a very kind of like father figure on the grid now, isn't he, Hamilton? Also, if we go back to the results, first time since 1981, I think it's 1981, it might have been something else. No, 1981 was that there were 4 multiple winners, or five multiple winners in one season.
Yeah.
The first time since 1981.
Yeah.
I think it's the first time since maybe the 60s that there were 4 British flag drivers in the points.
Yeah.
In the top 10.
There's a lot of... Also, didn't you say it's the first podium of F2 winners?
And all 3 of them won F2 on their debut year. That's after winning F3.
Piastri, Leclerc and Russell.
Yeah.
So
Hamilton's the only other one that actually applies to. But I mean, it all kind of proves that F2 does work in a way, because...
So that, you're right, there were 5 people in the Drivers' Championship who won more than one race. And actually there have been 7 different race winners. I know there was a really crazy season, wasn't there, where...
2012 that was. 2012 there were 7 different winners in the first 7 races.
Yeah.
Mostly because Maldonado somehow won a race. Suspicious.
Yeah. So anyway, next week,
Singapore.
3 days time.
I've also heard it's going to be wet.
Oh dear Lord.
I think Colapinto's going to win because nobody else will be driving.
Yeah. Well, no, it'd be Colapinto, Hamilton, Alonso.
Yeah.
Probably might actually do Max good if it does rain, because he's...
Well, I don't know, because if it's like the mechanical grip of the car...
It's driver skill though, because every lap will feel different. Especially on a street circuit. Ooh, so yeah, God. We've got a lot to look forward to.
Yes.
Oh, and Flavio Briatore's back in Singapore.
Oh yeah.
Let's get Jacques Villeneuve to interview him.
Yeah, Nelson Piquet Jr. to interview him.
Well, no, Jacques Villeneuve just does his interviews where he doesn't care. He just
because he's got hardly any media kind of responsibilities. He's there as like an expert, so he'll just say, Briatore, remember when you cheated in Singapore to get Alonso to win?
What was that, 16 years ago now?
And they'd all just laugh and go, that's funny, and then stare daggers at each other.
Yes.
But yeah. Also, Magnussen's going to be back with 0 penalty points.
And
0 drive contract for next year.
0 to lose.
Yeah, 0 Fs to give. He might actually just be even worse.
Banger racing.
Yeah, it might just...
Hey, did you know there's an extra flag in banger racing?
Yes.
Not enough contact.
Maybe that's what Magnussen thinks the black and white flag is.
Right, I think we're done.
Yeah, that was...
Thank you for listening.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've been quite efficient this time, haven't we? I can't see the clock.
Rambled a bit.
Oh, okay.
But we've got a month break, so it's fine.
Yeah, we'll be back at some point in the next 4 weeks. We're probably going to have to do it next week, otherwise we'll forget what happened in Singapore.
Yeah, hopefully. It's a good race.
Thank you for listening. I write mystery books when I'm not doing this and watching Formula 1.
Mm-hmm.
If you got this on YouTube, you know about Official Tibby. If not, go and check him out.
Yeah.
And thank you and goodbye.
Mm-hmm. Thanks.